Ijaz Rasool has translated the Urdu book by G. A. Parvez titled Islam Kya Hai into English, and the book has been published in the West on Amazon. I am going to discuss this book with him in some detail. Welcome, Dr. Ijaz.
Thank you very much.
It will help if you could provide some background to your translation work and your interest in the Quran and Islam.
Thank you. First of all, I'm grateful to Tulu Islam for giving me this opportunity to talk about this book and my translation work. My interest in the Quran started somewhere back in 1993. And since then, I have put in a lot of effort in understanding the Quran and the message and the values which it puts forward. The translation work started somewhere around 2014, where first I was asked to edit Lughat al-Quran, and I edited it with a lot of enthusiasm. And later on, I decided that I should also translate other books. And what is Islam? Though Parvez has already published an English book called Islam, A Challenge to Religion, but I thought that book has far more material which is quite philosophical. And those who read the book, I discussed with them, and they thought that the book is a bit difficult to understand because it covers philosophical side of human life. When I read Islam Kya Hai, what is Islam in Urdu, I found it brief and shorter version of Islam's challenge to religion. So I discussed with my wife and came to this conclusion that I should translate this book with her help. And it was a very challenging task because a lot of terms which were used in Urdu were quite difficult to translate into English. But by the grace of Allah, we managed to translate it I think quite effectively, and I have a very positive feedback from others. The book is now available in PDF on islamicdawn.com and also available on Amazon in the West on a cost price. And I will recommend to everyone that they should read this book. The book has something like 17 chapters on various aspects. These are short, to the point chapters and discuss all the issues which Quran discusses at a fundamental level to attract human beings towards its guidance.
Which chapter you think will help a beginner to develop interest in the Quran?
In my view, having read What is Islam number of times, chapter 6 is the one which I will recommend, other than, of course, the editor's note and the introduction. The chapter is on law of requital. Essentially, verse 22nd from chapter 45, Surah Al-Jathiyah, states that Allah created the heavens and the earth as truth, bil haq, so that every self, every human being is held accountable for the deeds we do in this life, and nobody is treated unjustly. Though this verse has 3 lines, but a whole universe is literally hidden within this statement. Because as human beings, we put a meaning to this universe. If we look at the universe and just imagine that none of us is around, then this universe is meaningless without human beings. And with our free will and intent and ability to make decisions, we can look around how we have changed the face of the earth. Right. And we are in fact now going beyond Earth and looking into the galaxies and other planets. So human beings are accountable for whatever they do. And we can say in a physical life, it is cause and effect. If I put my finger in fire, it will burn. But the Quran draws our attention that just like cause and effect, we are also affected by our deeds. Our thoughts come first and then our deeds. So chapter 6 discusses these aspects in detail and gives us the clue to the law of requital, that each one of us is accountable for whatever we do over here And our next life essentially is based on this. So it provides some motivation as well, that if we do good here, then we will be carrying this good in the form of our self-development on to the next one.
The concept of Allah given in the Quran is unique and is not found anywhere else. Could you throw some light on this concept and its significance in the development of the human life?
This is a very important aspect of human self-development. The concept of God, which is found in various religions, is quite contaminated in a way, because a lot of that is based on human own emotions and sentiments. But the concept of Allah, which is given in the Quran, is essentially put forward by Allah Himself, and it is based on His attributes. Since we have a self, and Quran says that we have a nafs, which has the ability to develop and realization. And then it says that Allah Himself presents Himself as a model for us, as a completely developed self. And once we follow that and we reflect those attributes, which are called Asmaul Husna in the Quran, once we reflect those attributes within our personality, then we essentially start solving the problems in the world. And that is how human self develops. And the self which develops in this way, which is reflecting the attributes of Allah within himself, then is able to establish deen on this earth. And deen is a different system from all the man-made system, because essentially what Quran is saying is that no human being has the right to ask other human being to follow his laws, that is man-made laws. So over here, because we are a possessor of free will, so Allah wants us to follow those values which are given in the Quran by manifesting His attributes in ourself. So this concept is unique, and since it is presented by or given by Allah Himself, so who best can present His own attributes or His own concept? For example, one of the things which comes out of the Quran is that nobody gave life to Allah. He was always alive. He is the beginning, He is the end. And then He is established and He is living. And third is, and for that life, He doesn't need anyone's help. And third is that He gives life. So in our case, what the Quran says is that I gave you first life, and then He asks us to go for accepting or developing conviction in the Quran, which He calls it Iman, and then do righteous deeds. And as a result, you develop yourself through your own actions, through your own deeds. That is where the law of requital comes in. And then not only live this life successfully, but go on to live the next life. That is why Quran says that every self will taste death. So Quran dissociates ourselves from our physical self, that the death will not affect human self. So the human self will continue living life in this life as well as the next one.
Right.
Thank you.
A lot is being said in the recent past about the economic system in Islam. This book appears to cover few fundamental aspects. It will help to summarize your findings from the book on this aspect.
In chapter 9, 10, and 11 in the book, Parvez has discussed the system of deen, which he calls it Rububiyat, which is actually based on one of the attributes of Allah, which is Rabb. Rabb is a very comprehensive term, but in summary, it deals with sustenance and nourishment. And when the Quran talks of sustenance and nourishment, it talks of both physical body as well as our self. So the self develops by helping others, body develops by looking after its own self, like exercise, food, and other activity. While body is aging, the Quran says that while the body is aging, we should develop ourselves so that the self keeps developing and realizes its potentials and then goes on to the next life. So the deen, which is presented as a system, will take care of both aspects. If we look at all the human or man-made systems, communism, socialism, capitalism, all mixture of capitalism, these systems, man-made systems, only cater for the physical body. And even then it creates a lot of inequality. That is why we see across the world that there is the gap between rich and poor is increasing. And human beings become more or less very mechanistic. Everything is directed towards the capital or towards creating wealth. And now we are realizing that this is causing a lot of problems across the world. The Quranic system of sustenance caters for both. And in this book, Pervez has gone into tremendous details to look at the rationale of this system as well, because human beings only do those things in which they are convinced. If I feel a need for Quranic guidance, only then I will come to it, because we want to increase our own happiness and minimize our own pain at a fundamental level. So what he has discussed is that we have to, those who think that this system should replace the capitalist system, and I will advise them that they should read these 3 chapters, and they can understand that this system actually gives us far more freedom than the freedom we get from the man-made system. So over here, he's not only gone into the details of this system as a concept, he's also discussed the rationale, that how the human beings should motivate themselves. Because the Quran gives us this incentive that this life is linked with the next life. And since it is linked to the next life, life is not going to end with death. It gives us not only hope, but it gives us practical steps to develop ourselves and then help others to develop their selves. And as a result, mankind becomes one community, and then it moves forward. And the Quran gives us hope that ultimately this system, humans will come onto this system through trial and tribulations and realize that they have made mistakes and the difficulty with democracy is that people who have a developed self cannot be elected through this process. So we have to think about it, that how to bring forward these people who understand this system in which both self and the physical self's needs are met.
As I understand, the Quran gives some permanent values, leaving other details to be worked out by the system. Could you put some light on this aspect and compare this with the man-made system?
Yes, very good question. The permanent values which Quran puts forward, as I said initially, let's look at the human beings who are looking at or replacing the existing system in which human exploitation is taking place. There is a huge inequality. Because at a fundamental level, what Quran is saying is that when a child is born, it is equal to any other child. The child doesn't know its gender, the child doesn't know parents, the child doesn't come with any wealth, it just comes as a human being. And funny enough, when we die, we don't take anything with us. So we are equal at the point of birth and we are equal at the point of death. So all inequality is between birth and death, which is created by man. If we look around in the world, wherever there is a problem, there is a human hand behind it. And whenever there is a solution, there is a human hand behind it. So what Quran has done is that it has given us the attributes so that human beings who want to develop their self, they should acquire those attributes. And once they have acquired their attributes, then it gives permanent values. The values like equality, justice, free movement of people across the globe, because nobody has the right to divide or put boundaries between human beings. And then is the education, has to be based on both self-development as well as the other side of the physical self. Then is warning, that people should be warned before we hold them accountable. So there are a number of values which Quran has given, and these are covered in the book in chapter 15. And whoever wants to establish deen, they have to first acquire those attributes, and then the system will be run between these values. But these values don't change with time. The first man on this earth had the same values. and the last man will have the same. But between these values, we can create sub-clauses according to the requirements of the time.